3 years in, I snooped and found suggestive texts. Now we barely have sex, and she doesn't want help with her bad habits. Brand new account for obvious reasons. Disclaimer: this will be quite lengthy and somewhat chaotic, and I may stray off topic. Please forgive any grammatical mistakes as English is not my first language. Essentially, this is the narrative of my relationship, and I aim to provide as much context as possible. I, male, 19, have been in a relationship with my girlfriend, female, 19, for 3 years since high school. She is my first love, first crush, first kiss, first intimate experience, my first in every way. Conversely, I am not her first in anything. She had a friends with benefits arrangement for 2 years, performed oral sex for 6 different guys, and kissed over 40. This is only what she chose to reveal to me. To be transparent, I admit that I went through her old text messages. She keeps all her past conversations on her phone, and despite my requests for her to delete them, she refuses. I discovered questionable exchanges with a guy she insisted I should not worry about, claiming he was harmless and from the other side of the country. We reside in a small European nation. While she was quite passive in her messages, I noticed their conversation relied heavily on pictures, Instagrams. View once feature meant I could not revisit them to see their content. One picture he sent was merely a screenshot, not a view once, of his lock screen featuring my girlfriend's backside, accompanied by the caption, "I want to see more of it." Upon seeing this photo, I felt nauseous but could not confront my girlfriend since I accessed her phone without permission. These previous relationships and friends with benefits were before we started dating, and she disclosed many of her romantic, intimate, and sexual experiences because I insisted on knowing. While the fact that she had such encounters prior to us is not inherently wrong, what distresses me most is that she lost her virginity at 13 and had kissed someone even earlier. This means she carries 3 years of experiences to compare against my performance. This was a significant issue for me, but being young and in love, I admit I was initially blinded by my feelings and dismissed it. Before officially becoming a couple, we went on a few awkward dates, and I shared my secrets, fundamental wishes, fears, interests, and perspectives on various topics. When we were officially together, she remarked that my openness was a quality she appreciated, as before meeting me, she thought of me as mysterious and aloof. I believe my vulnerability helped me fall in love with her at a quicker pace. Our relationship effectively began over the phone, with the exception of her visiting me at the gym. While I was not very emotionally mature, she was understanding. My affection for her helped me mature and grow. I started writing love letters, began studying more seriously in school, explored literature and philosophy, and even started learning a new language. She transformed me from a gym enthusiast into an intellectual. 2 months in, everything seemed perfect. We considered deepening our connection by having sex for the first time. After a week of contemplating the pros and cons, growing closer more quickly versus taking time to develop a deeper bond, we decided to go for it. During months 2 to 7, our relationship was fantastic. I even think it peaked during that time. Naturally, there were challenges, but we managed. We experienced harmony, filled with love and passion for each other, ensuring that both partners felt loved, respected, and heard. Nothing was left unsaid, no one was neglected. I was ecstatic, and even the sight of a blade of grass would remind me of her and fill me with joy. Life was better. Initially, our sex life was challenging. I was overly anxious, worrying that she was comparing me to other guys in terms of size and performance, but we eventually found a rhythm. She was incredibly drawn to me. We were engaging in intimate moments several times a day, in various locations. We simply could not keep our hands off each other, and I loved that. I cherished her desire and craving for me, despite my earlier performance being less than ideal. As a side note, we also were a gym couple, working out together 4 times a week. Then, something changed. It may not be directly related, but she went abroad for a youth exchange program lasting a week or 2 in a neighboring country. Upon her return, she appeared unchanged, but I sensed an internal disruption in our harmony. I thought nothing of it, believing everything would return to normal, but I was mistaken. Since the start of the 8th month of our relationship, I felt that we were not at 100 love, but rather at 95. I was immature and tactless, so I began questioning her about her past and suspected she might be cheating on me, thinking this could explain her slight emotional distance. This took a toll on our relationship, causing her to distance herself further, reducing our love to around 90. Afterward, things calmed down for a while. Fast forward to summer vacation before our 11th grade, our education system spans grades 1-12, followed by national exams used for university admission. Our school organized a week-long trip to a resort for the entire class. My girlfriend and I aimed to reignite the spark on our first night there, and we engaged in unprotected sex. We continued for a while, and as I was withdrawing, I ejaculated on her. She became very frightened as she did not anticipate this, leading to her first pregnancy scare. The resort was quite remote, and we lacked access to emergency contraception for several days. Fast forward a month, she got her period, so we avoided becoming parents while still in school. We were relieved, but in the following days, when I attempted to initiate intimacy, she stopped me because she was still fearful of the possibility of becoming a teenage mother. I respected her feelings and waited until she was ready. However, the subsequent experiences were uncomfortable and barely lasted a few minutes. She was not relaxed, and her mind was elsewhere. Then came grade 11. At the beginning of this academic year, she became particularly anxious and stressed, fearing she would be unable to prepare adequately for the national exams, which were easy, given she had 2 years to prepare. Her anxiety prevented her from going to the gym with me, and she ended up stuck at home, studying all day. Being at home made her lazier, leading to the development of poor habits. Smoking regularly. She had begun smoking at 12 but only occasionally before, going to bed at 7-8 a.m. and waking up at 3 p.m., consuming greasy food, drinking sugary carbonated beverages, smoking weed, and becoming addicted to scrolling through social media. This affected her self-esteem regarding her body, which in turn made her feel tired and moody. This eliminated any chances for intimacy between us. I stood by her side, offered help and advice, and never uttered a harsh word during this time. I strived to help her feel better about her body, but my efforts were met with rejection. Her responses included, "You are not helping. It's not about you. And everything will be fine once I pass these exams." Well, she passed those exams and gained acceptance into her dream university, yet there was no improvement in the previously mentioned aspects. There was no physical contact at all. She became uncomfortable due to worries that our neighbors might overhear us or that her parents might catch us in the act. We only meet at her house because her parents are usually away, and my apartment is cramped, as I share a room with my sibling. Additionally, I live far away, and she doesn't want to visit me. However, at the beginning of our relationship, we had a lot of intimate moments at my place. Thus, our only opportunity for sex arises when her parents are away for the entire night, and even then, the routine is predictable. She rebuffs my advances throughout the evening, avoiding all physical contact, only to initiate things actively at 5 a.m. while I am utterly exhausted and desperate for sleep. This leads to some intimate moments that are disrupted by her pain, as it is our first penetration in months. If she can overcome the discomfort and manages to relax, then we have very good sex, and I ensure she reaches climax at least once. During our intimate moments, she always tells me how well I perform, insisting that I am perfect for her, yet mere words are not enough when we only engage in sex once every few months. She is simply too uncomfortable to be intimate during the day or anywhere outside her bed. By the way, she tends to take a passive role. This pattern has persisted for the past 2 years. In those 2 years, we have had sex no more than 10 times. She continuously assures me that she will be more open, will start initiating, and will be more sexually active with me, yet she never follows through, which frustrates me immensely. I have communicated, on numerous occasions, how important intimacy is to me. I believe her when she says she will initiate more, as she attributes her low libido to some problem that she insists she will overcome. She claims that once this issue is resolved, her libido will return to normal. This seems absurd considering that with her previous partners, she willingly visited their apartments solely for sex. She even engaged in unprotected sex with them, yet she insists that I wear a condom all the time. She allowed her friends with benefits to ejaculate inside her, whereas I am expected to wear a condom while withdrawing. With the condom on and ejaculating inside it. She has recounted experiences of being intimately involved for hours to the point where she couldn't walk afterward, and she reminisced about receiving such mind-blowing oral stimulation from another girl that it left her unconscious. I have had to learn all sorts of techniques to last longer and provide her with stronger orgasms just to feel as though I belong. But no, my girlfriend and I can only be intimate once in a blue moon, and that depends entirely on her mood. This is incredibly frustrating. It may appear that the majority of my narrative thus far is centered around sex. I understand its importance, and she is aware of it too. Fast forward a few months, and we find ourselves at university. We have precisely been in university for 5 months now. Our intimate encounters have been limited to 2, once for sex and once for oral sex. At this point, I have entirely lost hope of engaging in sex with her, as any attempts I make are met with disinterest. I am inherently caring, considerate, and empathetic. I ensure all her needs are met. I provide the attention and affection she requests, buy her flowers weekly, treat her to dinners, and surprise her with expensive gifts each month on our anniversary. I take care of repairs around her house. I am physically fit and tall, and I believe I am relatively intelligent. I offer her thoughtful advice, engage in stimulating conversations, and always aim to make her laugh, emphasizing how much I love and appreciate her. I even call her endearing nicknames to remind her that she is special. Such gestures alone would typically make 99 of girls feel safe. I hope she does too. And more importantly, sexually attracted to their boyfriends. I want to clarify that I perform these actions without any expectation of sex or rewards in return. However, these efforts have only made her more complacent. She no longer fights for me, makes no special gestures for me, nor has she crafted any cute DIY presents. She used to do all these things in the beginning. Whenever I express my dissatisfaction regarding her lack of reciprocity, she turns defensive, attacks my character, points out my flaws, and asserts that we are not in a relationship like a lesbian one, where reciprocity is the norm. This pattern has persisted for the last 5 months. Her only expressions of love are cuddling and teasing me, neither of which satisfy my emotional needs. She doesn't even look at me with affection, only with indifference. She only smiles when I prompt her to do so. Another significant concern for me is that she constantly complains and goes around in circles, figuratively. Her sleep cycle is severely disrupted, and combined with university stresses, it is detrimental to her well-being. She physically cannot fall asleep before 6 a.m., yet she has lectures beginning at 11 a.m. This schedule leaves her feeling drained, which she tries to remedy with energy drinks that keep her awake long into the night. I have spoken to her about this. She initially responded positively and even agreed to make improvements, but the efforts to change lasted only a single day. This cycle continues daily. She awakens tired, complains incessantly, and consumes caffeine late into the night. This, in turn, exacerbates her addiction to smoking and endless scrolling on social media. She then wonders why her sleep is poor, why her sex drive is non-existent, and why her mood remains perpetually negative. She does not want help or to help herself. I explain that her negativity affects our relationship quality. I feel like we are losing our spark, but she insists that it is merely a temporary mood that will vanish, allowing everything to be resolved. It does not. She has even accused me of exaggerating the seriousness of our situation, believing that I fail to grasp the entire issue, which may stem from her being too fatigued to fully comprehend it. Additionally, she claimed I am overly petty and harbor resentment toward her, confessing her fear that once we cohabitate, I will make her life miserable by nitpicking over trivial matters, thus fostering her anxiety about the prospect of living together. So this is where we currently stand. Summary: I want to address 3 primary issues in our relationship. 1. We lack a sexual life, and the relationship feels more akin to one between platonic best friends rather than a romantic couple. We no longer have that spark. 2. I want to assist her in breaking the cycle of poor sleep, fatigue, and addiction, but she either refuses to acknowledge there is a problem or is uninterested in seeking help. 3. She has an irrational fear that I will make her life unbearable by taking trivial matters too seriously or arguing over minor issues. If you have any questions, feel free to ask, as I'm aware that my story might seem convoluted. I wrote this stream of consciousness. Story 2. I was blocked by a woman in an SUV, yelled at, and then nearly hit when she reversed. Her crazy claims led to her arrest. All right, based on the title, I am sure people are rolling their eyes, wondering why someone would be perceived as overreacting if a person tried to hit them with a car. Please hear me out because I am genuinely concerned that I may have overreacted. This is a lengthy story, but it is quite interesting. The summary will be provided at the bottom. I was finishing up feeding the horses at the ranch where I work part-time yesterday afternoon and was headed back to my vehicle when I noticed a woman in a black sports utility vehicle. We are located in the county and quite far from the main roads, so we rarely encounter random individuals. However, we have Airbnb tickets on the property, so I'm never certain if someone is a guest staying with us or not. Consequently, I disregarded her and continued trudging through the snow toward my car. This is when she began yelling at me. She declared, "I own this property and you are a squatter, you need to leave. There are no squatter rights in insert state." I was baffled and replied, "I work here, and you are definitely not the owner." She continued shouting peculiar nonsense at me. At this point, I realized I was not being compensated enough for this situation, and since there was clearly a disturbed lady trespassing, I called my manager to explain. She expressed more concern for my safety and advised me to get in my car and leave immediately. She, along with the owners, lives on the property, so she mentioned that if the woman stayed, she would call the police herself. This seemed reasonable, and I agreed, so I got into my car and prepared to leave. This is where it appears I may have experienced unlawful detainment, a claim I will not dispute at all. The woman had her large SUV positioned right in the middle of the only road, effectively blocking my escape. Therefore, I began recording with my phone. I pulled up behind her, read her license plate number aloud, and in response, she threw her car into reverse and started backing up towards me. I became concerned that she might intentionally hit my vehicle, which I acquired last year and still owe $8,000 on, but she stopped and put her car in park. This road runs alongside the fence of the corral where the young horses are located, so I was also anxious about their safety. I stated out loud to my camera, "Oh God, she is backing up at me," just before she halted and shifted it into park. I honked my horn, but she did not move. I then said, "I really do not want to confront you, but I need you to move so I can leave," which I documented on my video recording. Stepping out of my car so I could be heard, I said, "Ma'am, I am an employee here and I am trying to leave, but you are obstructing me." She then insisted that she owned the property, claimed the owners were squatters, and surprisingly stated that she was Madam President and Donald Trump's daughter. I do not wish to make this political, as I acknowledge the pinned comment about avoiding political discussions, but I am including this to illuminate her character. At this juncture, I informed her that she was trespassing and needed to depart. I articulated on video that I was concerned she posed a danger to the horses and the property. I wish I had mentioned my own safety as well, and warned her that if she did not leave, I would call the police, and that I had recorded her license plate number. This was all captured on video, including her proudly stating her full name. "I am first name last name, but that is first name Trump to you or something similar." However, it turns out that you cannot record video while on a phone call, including to 911. Therefore, I ceased recording at this point. I contacted the dispatch and informed them that a woman was yelling at me and blocking my exit from my workplace. Upon hearing this, she shifted her car into reverse and sped away, trying to accelerate towards me. Fortunately, the snowy and slushy conditions meant she did not gain traction. I decided to get inside my vehicle since trying to evade a vehicle would require me to climb a fence on either side of the road to reach safety, and I was uncertain if I could do so quickly enough. Additionally, positioning myself behind my car would not guarantee the avoidance of my car being pushed into me, given that it is a small hatchback and she drives a larger SUV. Fortunately, due to the road conditions, I managed to get into my car, shifted it into reverse, and parked it in the roundabout beneath a tree for cover. When she shifted into reverse, I remarked aloud to dispatch, "Oh God, I think she is trying to hit me." At this point, the owner's husband, my manager, and the other ranch hand all arrived, and it seemed the woman had departed. I handed my phone to the owner's husband so he could explain the situation to dispatch. I began to cry because I finally felt safe, and I went over to talk to the owner, who arrived a little later, she has cancer, to explain the entire situation. Then the woman returned. She started yelling from her vehicle at the owner's husband and me just as the deputy arrived. Kudos to my county's response time. All of this occurred within 6 minutes of my call. He ordered her to turn off her engine and exit the vehicle. In response, she took off, resulting in a car chase. She is now in jail without bail. Here is the conclusion. Was she genuinely attempting to hit me with her car? From the ranch's Osprey Nest camera, you can hear her spinning out and her engine revving after you hear me speaking to dispatch, but the camera is fixed on the nest, so it only captures audio. Perhaps she was just trying to back up in anger to confront me about calling the police. She undoubtedly deserves to be held accountable for unlawful detainment and evading law enforcement. They had to use spike strips to attempt to stop her before she could enter the city, and when she attempted to avoid them, an officer had to ram her into a guardrail to halt her, which reportedly resulted in a flat tire. But does she deserve the charge of assault with a weapon? The deputy who first arrived was the one who apprehended her and later returned to take my statement and gather the video footage. He asked, "Why does someone threaten to harm you if their intent isn't to coerce you into changing your actions? And from there, to injure you if you do not alter your response?" This inquiry arose when I conveyed that I was worried I might be overreacting and creating a scene due to my fear. I am genuinely shaken by this experience. Most of my friends insist that I am not overreacting, but they are my friends, so naturally, they support me. Was she genuinely going to hit me? Would she have done so if she had gained traction? In summary, did she truly attempt to run me over? The conclusion: an unhinged woman may or may not have tried to hit me with her car, but I cannot know for sure since she could not gain traction on the snow, and I am concerned that I may have overreacted.